What would you do if the one person who needed you most was abandoned by everyone else? That question haunted me the night I realized my nephew, Ethan, was gone. He was 16, a quiet kid with a sharp mind and a heart too big for the world that kept kicking him down. His mother, my sister Claire, had always favored her other kids' golden children who could do no wrong. Ethan, though, was her scapegoat, the one she blamed for every spilled glass, every bad day, every crack in her fragile life. When he vanished, she barely blinked. "He's just acting out," she said, sipping her wine. "He'll be back." But I knew better. Ethan wasn't running away for attention. Something was wrong. I'd always been the odd aunt, the one who showed up with books instead of toys, who listened when Ethan rambled about his dreams of escaping our small, suffocating town. He'd talk about stars, about cities where no one knew your name, his eyes bright with hope. But lately, those eyes had dimmed. Bruises on his arms, which he'd shrug off. Missed dinners. A quiet that felt more like surrender than peace. When Claire called me that Tuesday, saying Ethan hadn't come home, her voice was flat, like she was reporting a lost sock. I hung up and drove straight to her house. The place was chaos. Claire's younger kids screaming, her boyfriend sprawled on the couch, a beer in hand. "He's probably at a friend's," she said, rolling her eyes. "You worry too much, Sarah." But Ethan didn't have friends, not really. He was the kid who sat alone at lunch, the one teachers overlooked, the one whose name was always followed by a sigh. I searched his room. His sketchbook was gone, but his phone charger was still plugged in. That's when my stomach sank. Ethan never left without his sketches. They were his lifeline. I started with the places he might go: the library, the park, the old train tracks where he'd once told me he felt free. Nothing. By midnight, my panic was a living thing, clawing at my chest. I called Claire again. "Did you even report this?" I asked. She hesitated. "He's done this before. It's not a big deal." Not a big deal. Her words lit a fire in me. Ethan wasn't just a problem to be ignored. He was family. My family. I posted flyers around town, his face staring back from every lamppost. I knocked on doors, called shelters, even tracked down his old art teacher, who said Ethan had been distant lately. Days passed with no leads. The police were useless, calling him a runaway, and moving on. Claire didn't even show up to the station. But I couldn't stop. Ethan deserved someone who wouldn't give up. Then, a break. A gas station clerk recognized Ethan's picture. He'd been there a week ago, buying a candy bar, looking rough. The clerk mentioned a bus ticket to the city. My heart raced. Ethan, in the city? Alone? I drove 2 hours to the bus terminal, clutching his photo like a lifeline. I showed it to anyone who'd look: ticket agents, homeless folks, a street vendor. Finally, an old man pointed me to a shelter downtown. "Saw a kid like that," he said. Didn't talk much. The shelter was a grim, fluorescent-lit place. I scanned the faces: tired, hollow, lost. And then I saw him. Ethan, hunched in a corner, his sketchbook clutched to his chest. He looked thinner, his eyes shadowed, but alive. I ran to him, tears burning my eyes. "Ethan," I whispered, pulling him into a hug. He stiffened, then collapsed against me, sobbing. "I didn't think anyone would come," he said. He told me everything. How Claire's boyfriend had been hitting him, how she'd blamed him for provoking it, how he'd run to the city, thinking he could start over, only to find himself scared and alone. I wanted to scream, to march back and shake sense into my sister. But Ethan needed me more than my anger needed an outlet. I took him to my apartment, gave him a hot meal, a bed. We talked all night about his dreams, his fears, and the family that had failed him. The next day, I called a lawyer. Claire didn't fight when I filed for custody. She didn't even show up to the hearing. Ethan's been with me for 6 months now. He's still quiet, still carries those scars, but he's starting to smile again. His sketches fill my walls bright, hopeful scenes of stars and cities. I don't know if I can fix what's broken in him, but I'll spend my life trying. Because Ethan isn't a scapegoat. He's a kid who deserves to be seen, to be loved. And as long as I'm here, he'll never be invisible again. Word count: 800.